everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. You are watching the Winnipeg Jets Postgame Show presented by Budweiser. Sara Orlesky here alongside former NHLer Trevor Kidd. Well, Trevor, we had really hyped up this game going into it. Obviously, the significance with the standings being what are 2 points separating the two clubs, the Winnipeg Jets and the Calgary Flames, coming into this game. We knew that there was going to be that playoff-like atmosphere. It certainly, in that respect, lived up to the hype, although in this one, despite being tied at 1 after 40 minutes, the Winnipeg Jets coming up short in this one. 3-1 Calgary was the final.
Yeah, I mean, past the home team not getting the win, it lived up to the expectations coming in. I mean, Calgary last night had Chicago in Calgary. They lost. They come in here tonight, again, getting in late last night. All the anticipation for the game and the hype, and Kyle Connor was talking before the game about the fans and needing the fans to be involved, and already talking about the sea of white, and looking forward to the playoffs, and it was jacked up. The fans were really good in this hockey game. From Kyle Connor talking about that, and in the pregame, "Go Jets Go" was already happening during the national anthem, and it was a lot of fun. The game was fun. Again, the home team didn't win. That's the only problem to this game, but it did have a playoff feel. The after whistle stuff, there were a lot more
penalties than what we were used to seeing.
Fair enough. You know what? Good point. But heavy game, very physical. A lot of stuff after the whistle. It was highly entertaining of a hockey game. Just needed the Winnipeg Jets to win it.
Yeah, this is the third game of this homestand for the Jets, their final 5-game stretch at home for the regular season. Obviously, they had been able to find that offensive touch in their first 2 games against Detroit and against New Jersey. They were able to capitalize also on the fact that those two teams were coming in off of back-to-backs, very similar to Calgary. The offense, though, did not come up the same way. You knew they weren't going to score 6 goals every night, but Jake Markstrom also making some key saves.
I think that's a bit of the story here tonight. He was the first star, and you know what? Winnipeg created a lot of high danger chances. I mean, breakaways, 2-on-1s, backdoor plays. How many times? Certainly there was probably 3 where Markstrom is down and out. Total desperation, somehow gets a piece, gets a pad on it. Winnipeg certainly through 60 minutes, definitely through the first 40, created the better opportunities. They were in tight, they were in the middle part of the ice, they were in danger zones, whether it be high slot, low slot, backdoor. They were real good. They just couldn't get one to go on Markstrom tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a moment. Of course, as always, we'll head into the dressing room, but first we are joined by Kyle Connor, who scored Jets goal tonight. Kyle, obviously not the result that this group was looking for. How would you describe this game over 60 minutes?
Yeah, kind of a weird game, to be honest. A couple power plays early, and it seemed like every couple minutes we couldn't get into the flow 5-on-5. There's another power play or a penalty kill. So I think that definitely threw off our 5-on-5 game a bit. Penalty kill did a great job. I thought we put some chances in front of them. Their goaltender played well.
When you look at the third period in particular, was there anything in terms of the style of game, and it's tied at 1 heading into the third, that changed at all?
Not really.
No.
I don't think so. Not from my from my end. They did a good job staying on top of us. I thought their D's pinched really hard. We try to put some pucks behind them to kind of combat that. Just wasn't bouncing our way, unfortunately.
There was a lot of talk heading into the game about, obviously with the significance, that playoff-like atmosphere that people were expecting. Did you feel as if it had a different level of intensity even than what we've seen in the last few games for you guys?
Yeah, definitely felt that the last couple of games, and obviously tonight this is the team that's chasing us, and we're tied, going forward here. So yeah, there's a little bit extra. I think the fans could tell it, everybody could tell it. Whether that's a little nervous energy that we got to take care of here, and not sway from our game, and really take it to them. I think if anything, take away from that, I think we just got to stick to our game more and do what we play best.
Thanks so much for the time, Kyle. As always, really appreciate it. I mean, listen to him. There was a lot to like about the Jets game this evening. Let's take a look at some of the goals. I mean, it was Kyle Connor that started the scoring for it on the power play. No less, it was double minor to Milan Lucic for high sticking.
Well, and it's a great play. Kyle Connor ends up with the one-timer here, but this is a great pass by Nick Ehlers. We've talked about the seam play throughout here over the last couple of months, and perhaps it being overused by the Winnipeg Jets. But this little look-off here with Ehlers, trying to get the Flames to open up that seam play. And I said to you immediately on that, that look-off froze those top two players on the PK for the Flames, and they had their sticks in the wrong lane. And Nick Ehlers did a great job of reading that, getting that pass over to Kyle Connor. It was a great one-timer, beat Markstrom high up over the glove. Yeah,
he talked about, and when we just talked to Kyle there, he talked about the challenge of obviously from a 5-on-5 perspective. I was joking to you in points that it felt as if we were never seeing 5-on-5. I mean, but on both sides, that you were seeing the penalties being handed out.
I lost track there in the third period.
I know. Understandably so. It ended up six power plays for the Flames. They went 0 for 6. The Jets fortunate that the Flames didn't have anything going really with the man advantage, and then the Jets 1 for 5, that one goal coming from Kyle Connor. But let's head immediately right now into the Jets room and hear from defenseman Nate Schmidt.
How much did so many penalties take away from your flow 5-on-5?
There was a lot. I don't even know how many penalties there were in the game, but I don't think we had a 5-on-5 shift until about 12 minutes into the first and a bunch in the second. That's kind of been our bread and butter in the last probably week and a half or so, getting in and getting on the forecheck. So I think there was a little bit of a disruption in the game, but that stuff happens. You gotta, it hasn't happened in a long time actually for our game, but we understand that those things happen in an emotional game, a high intensity match.
Where does this one rank for intensity, I think, for the season?
It was up there. I think there was a lot of stuff going on in the game. A lot of extracurriculars. Guys were fired up about the game, and I think both sides were showing it. Kelly played great. I thought our PK did a really good job. Gave us a lot of momentum. It seemed like every time, we would get a big PK, then we'd go in the power play, right, and then vice versa. So, he said not a ton of flow to the game.
What was the difference, you think, between the teams?
They score on their chances. One goes off me, and we get a chance and a couple breakaways that we don't score on. I think there wasn't a lot of space on the ice really for either team. It's something that we're going to want to look at tomorrow and find a way to be better. The first one I just tried to grab it again. I jumped over my stick, and so by the time I grabbed it the second time, I think I ran out of space. And the second one just got to stay in it. I feel like I haven't made the right move, and just got to finish it from there.
Did Markstrom get a piece of that on the second one, Nate?
Not that I remember. I just kind of faded out a little bit too wide.
Was it different? Does this game feel different than the last two games? Almost, I don't know if it was obviously the stakes being higher, but it almost seemed like you guys were almost, when it was 1-1, you were settling into a game. It didn't seem like you were dictating play as much as you were the last couple of games.
Yeah, I think we were just trying to find what the game was, especially with how the first period and a half had gone. I felt like we started to get our skating legs a little bit, and then period ended, right? And then you came back out again. I just got to find a way that even guys like myself and then get into the game as you go, even when you're playing a lot of special teams.
Obviously not the result you want, but the crowd seemed like they were in it all game, whether it was the booing Anderson right off the beginning to just kind of seemed like they were fired up.
Yeah, they certainly were. They're telling us they're ready for the next couple of weeks, and we have to be ready for that as well. That's the kind of thing that you want from your home crowd, to come out in a game like that and give you a lot of jam to get going. It was a good hockey game. A lot of stuff happens. Just got to capitalize on our chances.
2 games on that homestand, you're going to need that crowd to be behind you, obviously, the rest of the season.
Yeah, if it's like that the rest of the way, I got a good feeling about how our team game will be at home.
How would you describe the drama here of the race, Nate? How would you describe the drama? Now 2 teams even. They have 3 left. You got 4 left.
Yeah, this is what it always comes down to, right? That's the reason why you're grinding for the whole year. You grind for games like this or the next one, and this is makes for good storylines.
Felt like this was a chance to almost bury them.
It's still a couple games left, but you find a way to look at it and say, hey, nothing is more important than this one right here, right now. Now, you have Nashville, I believe, coming in, and so now we look at it and say, hey, you still have a chance with the game in hand. You go out and do your thing.
There are so many things about this game that we could discuss. I mean, really, if we took it from...
Nate Schmidt said it all. The crowd, the extracurricular, the offensive chances, the flow, the PPE, the PK. It was...
Absolutely. He didn't mention the disallowed goal from Calgary that they got called off for goaltender interference. So Zadorov making up for it later on with sealing the deal with the third goal for Calgary. But Nate Schmidt was asked about his breakaways for it. He had a couple.
Plural breakaways.
Yeah, he had
Here's
a couple.
the first one. And a great opportunity. The puck just unfortunately was bouncing. We all were wondering if this was going to be a penalty shot, but I think just the fact that the puck was bouncing like that. The play gets turned over here immediately, and he gets a second opportunity. More alone, and this is it. I mean, one of Markstrom's. I don't actually think he got a piece of that, but that was, again, a desperation type play. Nate Schmidt was in and around it. On the offensive side here tonight, unfortunately, he touched on it briefly. He was a part of that second goal that Calgary scored.
That ended up being the game winner. Yeah, for it. That crowd in the net, it goes off of him, and obviously a challenging one for Connor Hellebuyck, a challenging one for the Winnipeg Jets. Let's head back into the room now. It's time to hear from Pierre-Luc Dubois.
I felt like a playoff game. It was high intensity, both teams. Wasn't much room out there, and it was an intense physical game.
How do you feel you guys handled that?
I mean, we had some opportunities that, they either didn't score, missed an net, hit the post. Really made a nice save. Yeah, I mean, it was a close game.
You had a chance to maybe almost bury them in this one in some ways. Where does this leave you now?
Well, we're still above them. We have a game in hand. I mean, we're still on the inside, yeah, of course, this game, we would have loved to win it, and that was the objective, but we're still ahead of them. We still have one game in hand. We could be in a worse position right now. We got to look forward to the next game.
How would you describe that exchange with Markstrom and Pierre-Luc?
Yeah, I mean, it's hockey. Punched me in the back of the head. I didn't appreciate it. That's it.
Was there a water bottle squirt in there somewhere too?
Yeah, I didn't really care about that. It's water. I drink it. I shower like everybody else. Like, it's just water. I didn't like the punch in the back of the head.
Did he block you?
I didn't even. I just felt the punch. I saw it on the replay. I moved on after that. But yeah, that's the water. The water is just water.
You were involved in a fair bit of stuff. Is this, you kind of relish games like that?
High intensity games. That we get 2 power plays from doing that. Sometimes you gotta get punched in the head to get a power play. It's just how it works. Yeah.
You're probably could have done more for you, I guess. You'd like to make them pay more than once.
Yeah, I mean, at this point of the season in the playoffs, a good power play is scary. You're kind of walking on eggshells as the other team. You can't be taking too many penalties. We scored that first one on the power play. But yeah, we definitely could have done a little bit better tonight.
On the subject of penalties, how much was it, or how difficult was it for you to establish flow at 5-on-5 because of the number of penalties your team had taken?
Yeah. These kinds of games are never easy in that sense. It's tough for some guys to get in. It's tough for, depending on if we have power plays, there's a lot of power plays, there's a lot of PKs, but most of the games played in 5-on-5, and it's sometimes tough, but it can be tough for both teams. It was tough for us, but yeah, both teams aren't playing 5-on-5, so it's not really an excuse.
What's the feeling in the room? Last one,
disappointment, obviously. A loss is a loss, but like I said, we could be in a worse position right now. We could be on the outside looking in. We could be the team that played one more game. Right now, we're tied, yeah, but the tiebreaker is for us is better. We have a game in hand. We're obviously disappointed. Like, I'm not going to stay in here and say we're happy and we're thrilled, but we're still in a good spot. We're still on the inside. So we just got to look forward to the next couple games here.
You can hear Pierre-Luc Dubois' post-game availability in its entirety on the Winnipeg Jets website, but let's head into Matt Frost Media Center and hear from head coach Rick Bowness.
Regret getting dragged into that kind of game? that's not the way we want to play. But, you want your players to play with emotion and passion, and sometimes it gets a little carried away, I guess.
How tough is it mentally to stay in the game that sort of gets longer because there's so much of that stuff?
Yeah, when you can't, when you want to get your bench rolling and play fast, and you keep taking penalties, you can't get your game going. You can't. So there's too many times that because of all the penalties, we were playing slow, and that's not how we want to play. But every time we tried, it seemed like we could get something going, we took a penalty. Then got to start all over again. So that's not how we want to play. Yeah.
What, if anything, would you have in your toolbox to use to try to get that speed back, or just change the flow of something like that?
Well, again, you're playing kind of into their hands, and we needed to generate some more speed through the neutral zones. What we were really focusing on the last 10 minutes, moving the puck, and like they were all back up and they're standing up and making you shoot it in. Then you got to go to work. And listen, we hit the post late in the game. We had a breakaway late in the game. They got a lucky break on their second goal. So the chances, that we had, they didn't go in. We had in the second period, we have a 3-on-1. We don't score. They go down, and 2-on-1, they score. It was one of those nights.
On that second goal, I'm not saying this is why it happened, but it was unique. You ran Scheifele and Connor with 7 seconds left. Was there a sense that, hey, it's only 7 seconds, we'll get out of it, go?
No, it's a right-hand centerman, and Kevin was coming off, and Mark had, so the chances of getting that face-off were better. But we had control of the puck in the corner, and we threw it away. That's what caused the problem.
What did you see on the coach's challenge, Rick? I mean, goalie interference has been a bit of a dice roll this year.
Yeah, it is. Listen, you are rolling the dice. We saw the guys bump into Connor, and he spun him around. He couldn't get set for the next shot. It could have gone either way, but you got to call it because our goalie got bumped and they scored. Our penalty killers were doing a good job, so it was worth the gamble.
What can your team learn in terms of trying to deliver the next blow? Obviously, Nashville is another team that is chasing you. A win over them head-to-head would put you in a good position. I mean, what can you take from this game that you can maybe apply to Saturday?
Well, again, stay out of the box. Let's play 5-on-5, and let's play a lot faster. But when you're taking 6 penalties, it's hard to do play the way we want to play. So we got to stay out of the box, play 5-on-5. Like we've been pretty good lately with staying out of the box tonight. The tripping and the pushing and shoving. Well, I don't like the other penalties. The pushing and shoving, they're going off with us. But we got to stay out of the box on the other ones.
You thought it would feel like a Game 7? There was a lot of tension. Is that what the game felt like to you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You didn't take a lot of retaliation, I don't think. It was more a little niggling.
Oh, the tripping and I mean, the scrums. Okay, they even themselves off. Dubois goes off. Those scrums weren't the issue. It was the other one, the tripping and the hooking and those are the ones that hurt us.
This was a chance to almost bury them. Where does this leave you?
Well, we're still in 8th place. That's where it leaves us, and now it's up to us to keep it.
Yep.
That's where we are.
Rick, not obviously the result you wanted, but the crowd seemed like they showed up tonight, gave you that kind of burst.
Great crowd tonight. Yeah.
How important are they going to be in this rest of the 5
We're going to need them Saturday night for sure. Yeah, and again on Monday. But again, it's just one of those nights. It's 1-0. We go down on a 3-on-1. We don't score. And then they go down and score, and that could have been 2-zip right away. And then we could build off of that. We had the chances, and we just didn't score to give us that boost. And even at the end, Adam hits the post. Nick has a breakaway. Like we need. They went in the last couple of games. They didn't go in tonight.
The Jets will regroup their next game Saturday against the Nashville Predators. Obviously a huge game mentioned. So where does this find them, Trevor? Well, it finds them in 8th place still.
On the inside. You heard
yep,
Nick.
Absolutely. At 89 points apiece, though, both for the Jets and the Flames. You take a look at where the standings are right now. The Jets obviously getting the nod, having played one fewer game, but also with 43 wins versus Calgary's 37. Let's take a look at the remaining games that exist for both of these two clubs. 4 games left for the Jets, 2 of those at home, Nashville and San Jose. You're going to talk about how important the crowd was going to be. They have been electric. They've been very involved throughout this homestand. They will look to be again, but not an easy finish to the season for the Jets as well with Minnesota and
Not
Colorado.
easy at all. I mean, you look at those last two games at Minnesota, at Colorado, both of those teams probably at this point in time, I mean, they're still jockeying for position when you talk about the playoffs and first in division. So it is a tough schedule. Obviously starts, you can't look too far ahead. And as Coach said, start Saturday night, needs the crowd behind them, and certainly they'll be, it's interesting when you talk. The offense that they created tonight was good. Certainly you can see some frustrations with the penalties that they took, some of the discipline, but it was a fun hockey game. There was a lot of energy here. It was heavy. There was a lot of extracurricular, as Nate Schmidt said. Winnipeg had their chances. I mentioned
Especially
through
at the
40.
end of the game.
And he said it, right? Nick Ehlers had a breakaway. You had a goal post. You had Josh Morrissey. And here's Nick Ehlers. He's all alone. And we mentioned Markstrom was the first start of the game. And he made some big stops throughout and late in that third period on Winnipeg.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, obviously, going forward. They haven't made it easy on themselves. They're sitting 8th. Everybody, if they are a Jets fan, is wishing that this was all locked up and decided already. And a win tonight wouldn't have done that anyways, but it certainly would have been able to give them some more breathing room for this and maybe made these...
Be battle tested when they get in. There's no doubt about it.
The glass half full, that's certainly going to be it. Winnipeg Jets make it into the postseason. When they do, if you want to go again, the glass half full, but it will certainly, they will have been battle tested in order to get there. Not the result that the Jets were looking for tonight. Again, a 2-goals third period by the Flames. Were able to give them this one. 3-1 Calgary was the final. The Jets' lone goal coming off the stick of Kyle Connor in the first period, a power play goal. Not something that we say often with this group, as I think that we saw Dubois mention, and when most of their offense recently had come from 5-on-5. Today, it was the power play goal that they got. All right, that is going to be it for us. We're going to wrap it.
And look forward to Saturday.
You know what? With every game now, we're going to say that for it. With every home game, the atmosphere, though, just continues to build. I wore white today. I mean, you tried to get into that playoff mode.
Just the thought of that. I mean, I never played for Winnipeg, but certainly grew up here watching the Winnipeg Jets. And the next 5 games, everyone already heard some of the pregame interviews and the crowd, wanting the crowd, even though we're at the end of the season and we're still in the regular season. Even the players are thinking about playoffs, and certainly those home playoff games, and the Winnipeg CO White.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be great. So the request from the team, the players, bring the noise, bring the energy as well. It has certainly been noticeable throughout this homestand. All right, as we close things out tonight, though, a special night here within Canada Life Centre as well. It was Pride Night for it. Winnipeg Jets players wearing warm-up jerseys that are going to be auctioned off later this season, June. So some great jerseys, a great night. A lot of positive attention and positive discussion continues. Go from nights like this. So good job by the Winnipeg Jets and their players as well for this. But make sure that you take a look at the Winnipeg Jets website as well. Keep an eye out, because those are some pretty nice jerseys that you will be able to bid on for the warm-up orange jerseys later on. All right, that is it for us. You're back with me on Saturday as well?
Monday.
Oh, you just like to close it out on the right. I like it. All right. Well, Trevor won't be with me Saturday night, but I hope that all of you will be. Don't forget, Nashville Predators in town. Join us after the game for your Winnipeg Jets postgame show presented by Budweiser. Have a great night, everyone.